Hi friends, this is Annamaneni Manoj Kumar, lecturer in Commerce, Government Degree College, Medpelli, District, Jagityal. Today we are going to discuss about the Sale of Goods Act 1930. Formation of Contract of Sale. Sale of Goods Act 1930. The sale of goods is a very common type of commercial contract. Sale of Goods Act 1930 contains information concerning laws related to sale of goods before the introduction of Sale of Goods Act 1930. The rules concerning the sale of goods were included Chapter 7th of Indian Contract Act 1872. Contract of sale. A contract of sale refers to a contract through which the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. The contract of sale may be two types: conditional contract of sale, absolute contract of sale. Once again, simple definition of sale of goods. Section 4.1 of the Indian Sale of Goods Act 1930 defines the contract of sale of goods in the following manner. The contract of sale of goods is a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. The contract of sale may be two types: one, conditional contract of sale; second, absolute contract of sale. Conditional contract of sale means conditional contract of sale is a contract of sale which is on a condition. Absolute contract of sale. Unlike conditional contract of sale, absolute contract of sale is made without condition. Contract of sale is an agreement term and covers A. Sale, B. Agreement to sell. In case of sale, property in goods is passed on to the buyer from seller, whereas in case of agreement to sell, there is only an agreement between the parties which the seller would transfer the property in goods to the buyer in the future or after the fulfillment of some conditions. An agreement to sell takes the form of sale with the span of time fulfillment of condition which were imposed on the transfer of property in goods to the buyer. Essentials of contract of sale. The following are the essential elements of contract of sale. The first one, two parties. The second one, goods. The third one, price. The fourth one, transfer of journal property. And essentials of contract of sale. From the above definition, the following essentials of a contract of sale may be noted. There must be at least two parties. Transfer or agreement to transfer the ownership of goods. The subject matter of the contract must necessarily be goods. Sale of innovable property is not covered under this act. The consideration is price. The contract of sale may be writing or by words. All other essentials of a valid contract must be present. So once again, essentials of a contract of sale. Two parties. The contract of sale should have two different parties, buyer and seller. Both these parties must be capable of performing the contract. Buyer refers to a person who buys the goods or agrees to buy goods from the seller. On the other hand, seller refers to a person who sells the goods or agree to sell goods to buyer. Example, there were 3 joint owners in a company. After 3 years of successful working, the company was shut down due to some reason. The leftover assets of the company were divided among the joint owners equally. This is not a sale, as people to whom assets were shared are owners and they cannot play the role of both buyer and seller. Next, essential goods. The contract of sale should include goods so that the property in goods can be transferred from the seller to the buyer. The goods in the contract of sale should include goods so that the property in goods can be transferred from the seller to the buyer. The goods in the contract of sale should be movable goods. Transfer of immovable property is not covered in the Sale of Goods Act. Example, A house owner gave his house on rent to B. House is an immovable property and transfer of house from A to B is not a sale. The third essential of contract of sale, that is price. In a contract of sale, price refers to the money consideration for the sale of goods. If goods are exchanged for goods, then it is barter system and not sale. Therefore, some portion of the consideration received in the form of money and some portion of the consideration received in the form of goods is considered as acceptable. Example, P sold 100 pens to Q costing at the rate of rupees 10 per pen. As an exchange to 50 pence, Q agrees to give P 100 erasers costing rupees 5 per eraser. Q agrees to pay the balance amount 500 in cash. Therefore, there is a contract of sale. The number 4 essential for sale, contract of sale, transfer of general property. Transfer of general property is one of the essential elements of contract of sale. Contract of sale should be for the transfer of general property in goods and not in the special property in goods. The actual owner of the goods will have general property in goods. If actual owner pledged goods with the other person, then that other person will have special property in goods. The last essential of contract of sale, Essential elements of a valid contract. All the essential elements of a valid contract are same for the essential elements of contract of sale. Okay, these are all the essentials of contract of sale. Once again, the number 1, 2 parties, number 2, goods, number 3, price, number 4, transfer of general property, the last one, essential elements of a valid contract. Types of goods. First of all, goods means, according to section 2(7), goods means every type of movable property except actionable claims and money, and it includes stocks and shares or growing crops, gross and things or material associated to or making a part of the land which are agreed to be stopped before sale or falls under the contract of sale of goods. The contract related to goods is a contract of sale of goods. In this contract, seller transfers or agrees to move the property to goods to buyer for a specific price. The items which are excluded from the term goods are as follows. Number 1, any actionable claim, that is any claim to any debt or any beneficial interest in a movable property which is not in possession. Those claims are not liable for sales or purchases, as they can only be ascertained or allocated. The legal tender such as money and not the old and unique coins. Number 3, immovable property. Example of goods: old rare coins, stock, share gas, electricity, patent, goodwill, copyrights, and so on. Now, classification of goods. The goods which are liable for the contract of sales are classified into following types as follows: existing goods, future goods, contingent goods. Existing goods means the existing goods are those goods which are owned or possessed by the seller at the time of contract of sale. The existing goods are further classified into specific goods, ascertained goods, unascertained goods. Once again, existing goods means goods which are physically in existence and which are in seller ownership and possession at the time of entering the contract of sale are called existing goods. Where seller is the owner, he has the general property in them. This type of goods are classified 3 types: specific goods, ascertained goods, unascertained goods. Specific goods means the goods which are recognized and agreed upon during the time of contract of sale are known as specific goods. For example, TV, car, ring, and so on. Ascertained goods. The goods which become ascertained after immediate formation of the contract of sale are termed as ascertained goods. Therefore, the goods which are determined out of bulk ascertained goods and the quantity related is identified and placed aside for a given contract. Unascertained goods. The goods which are difficult to get ascertained and are agreed upon at the time of the contract of sale is termed as unascertained goods. These goods are explained merely by description and may be part of a lot. This example, unascertained goods example, X who wants to purchase a TV set goes out to a showroom where four set of three models of LG TV are displayed. He observed the performance of a specific set which he decided to purchase. The set decided to be purchased is called as a specific set. When after purchasing one set, he marks a particular set, the marked set is considered as ascertained and the rest of the sets are considered as unascertained goods. Number 2, future goods. The goods which are to be manufactured or produced or acquired by the seller after the creation of the contract of sale are termed as future goods. The process of sale cannot take place in future goods because the person cannot sell the goods which he does not possess. In future goods, contracting parties are not liable to discharge on non-acquisition or non-production. These goods are not in existence and even not in possession of the seller at the time of contract of sale. For example, A agrees to buy all the milk that his cow may yield during the coming year. This is a contract for the sale of future goods. The third, contingent goods. Through a type of future goods, these are the goods the acquisition of which by the seller depends upon a contingency which may or may not happen. A agrees to sell to B a specific rare painting provided he is able to purchase it from its present owner. This is a contract for the sale of contingent goods. The another example, X agrees to sell to 25 bales of Egyptian cotton provided the ship with a bringing them reaches the port safely. It is a contract for the sale of contingent goods. If the ship is sunk, the contract becomes void and the seller is not liable. The term contract of sale of goods is a generic term and it includes sale and agreement to sell, where the seller transfers the ownership rights to the buyer immediately on making the contract. It is the contract of sale. But where the ownership rights are to pass on some future date upon the fulfillment of certain conditions, then it is called an agreement to sell. Differences between sale and agreement to sell. Sale, it is a contract where the ownership in the goods is transferred by seller to the buyer immediately at the conclusion contract. Thus, strictly speaking, sale takes place when there is a transfer of property in goods from the seller to the buyer. A sale is an executed contract It must be noted here that the payment of price is immaterial to the transfer of property in goods. Example: A sells his Yamaha motorbike skill to B for rupees 10,000. It is sale since the ownership of motorcycle has been transferred from to B. Then agreement to sell. It is a contract of sale where the transfer of property in goods is to take place at a future date or subject to some condition thereafter to be fulfilled. A agreed to buy from B a certain quantity of nitrate of soda. The ship carrying the nitrate of soda was yet to arrive. This is an agreement to sell. In this case, the ownership of nitrate of soda is to be transferred to A, the arrival of the ship containing the specified goods. Now, differences between sale and agreement to sell. First of all, the nature basis. The contract of sale is executed in nature. Agreement to sale is an executory contract in nature. Once again, the difference between sale and agreement to sell. The basis for difference, first one, nature. The contract of sale is executed in nature. Agreement to sale in an executory contract in nature. Transfer of property. The property in the goods transfers gets passed to the buyer immediately, and the seller is no more considered as the owner of the goods sold. In agreement to sell, the property in goods get transferred to the buyer in the future course of time or after the fulfillment of certain condition. The basis for different types of goods. The sale mainly takes place for existing and specific goods only. The agreement to sell is mainly for future and contingent goods, and sometimes even for undermined existing goods. The basis for difference, risk of loss. When the goods are damaged in the process of sale, the loss must be incurred by the buyer even if the goods are in the possession of the seller. In the agreement to sale, the loss for the damages is incurred by the seller even if the goods are under the possession of the buyer. The basis for different consequences of breach. Sale. Seller can sue the buyer for failure to pay the price of the goods or for the breach of contract by the buyer, even though the goods are in possession of seller. In agreement to sale, seller can sue buyer if there is a breach of contract by the buyer or for the damages to the goods incurred, but not for the price of the goods, even though the goods are in the possession of the buyer. Basis for different seller's right to resale. Seller has no right to resell the goods, and with this act of seller, the immediate buyer cannot claim the title of the goods. In the agreement to sale, the original buyer can merely sue seller for the damages, and the buyer who takes the goods for possession gets only goods title. Basis for difference, general and particular property. A sale is considered as a contract with additional convenience and results in just in term, which means right against the whole world. A seller can enjoy the possession of goods and can use them as their wish. An agreement to sell is just a contract which creates just in personam, which means rights against particular individual. Seller can sue only for the damages during the breach of contract. Basis for difference: insolvency of buyer. If the buyer becomes insolvent in a sale, an official assigned officer of receiver can only claim for the retainable dividend of the goods price and event claim for the delivery of goods from the seller. In the insolvency of buyer, the seller can refuse the delivery goods until the full payment for the goods is being made. The last one, basis for difference: insolvency of the seller. When seller becomes insolvent, the buyer, who is also the owner, can claim the receiver of delivery the goods from the official receiver or assigner. In the agreement to sell, the buyer is not liable to claim the seller for the goods as the property has not been fully transferred to the buyer. Seller can only claim for the retainable dividends. Okay, these are all the differences between sale and agreement to sell. Which documents are considered as a documents of title to goods? A document of title to goods may be described as any document used as proof of the possession or control of the goods, authorizing or purporting to the authorize, either by endorsement or by delivery, the possessor of the document to transfer or receive goods thereby represented. The following are documents of title to goods: bill of lading, dock of warrant, warehouse keeper certificate, wharfinger certificates, railway receipt, warrant, order the delivery of goods. The next topic, conditions and warranties. Meaning of condition. A condition is a stipulation which is essential to the main purpose of the contract. B. The breach of which gives the aggrieved party to right to terminate the contract. It goes to the root of the contract. It is non-fulfillment as upsets the very basis of contract. Conditions and warranties. Usually at the time of contract, there exist representations for both the buyer and seller. And when these representation becomes an essential part of the contract, it is called stipulation and can be classified as condition and warranty. According to section 12 subsection 1, stipulation in a contract of sale of goods may be condition or warranty. According to section 12 subsection 2, a condition is a stipulation which is necessary to the crucial aim of the contract, and the contract is discontinued, then the aggrieved party has to right to end the contract. Example: A asked a bus dealer to provide him a bus which is appropriate for the touring purpose. A recommended deluxe bus. A bought the deluxe bus but did not find it convenient for the touring purpose. It was held that the condition of being deluxe bus convenient was not being fulfilled. A has the right to end the contract and can claim the money spent on purchasing the deluxe bus. The next warranty. According to section 12.3, the warranty is a stipulation and consists of the following. Small a warranty is collateral to the main objective of the contract. It is a secondary importance. If there is a breach of a warranty, the aggrieved party can only claim damages and it has no right to treat the contract as repudiated. Example, a charter party, by charter party, a contract by which a ship is hired for the carriage of goods. It was agreed that ship M of 420 tons, now in port of Amsterdam, should proceed direct to Newport to land a cargo. In fact, at the time of the contract, the help ship was not in the port Amsterdam, and when the ship reached Newport, the charter refused his load. Held, the words now in the port of Amsterdam amounted to a condition, the breach of a which entitled to the charter to repudiated to the contract. Differences between condition and warranty. A condition is a stipulation which is essential to the main purpose of the contract. A warranty is a stipulation which is only collateral or subsidiary to the main purpose of the contract. Number 2, in condition, a breach of condition gives the aggrieved party to a right to sue for damages as well as the right to repudiated contract. A breach of warranty gives only the right to sue for damages. The contract cannot be repudiated. A breach of condition may be treated as a breach of warranty in certain circumstances. A breach of warranty cannot be treated as breach of condition. Express and implied condition and warranties. So implied condition means implied conditions are implied by law for the contract of sale related to goods. The following are the implied conditions which are defined under section of the law. Number 1, condition as to title, section 14a. The implied condition related to seller is that, small a, the seller has right to sell the goods under sale, small b. Under agreement to sell, the seller can sell the goods only at specified time, such as the time of property to pass. Example, A purchased a car from B, but after few months, the true owner of car, C, demanded A to return his car. A has to return the car in spite of its uses for few months, but A can recover the full price of the car given to C. Number 2, sale by description, section 15. Under contract of sale of goods, the goods should be according to the description of seller only. It is an implied condition. The following are the situation under this. 1. The buyer has not seen the goods but buys on the mere description provided by the seller. Example: W purchased a reaping machine from X, who said that a machine was only 1 year old and used only few times to cut only 60 areas. But W found the machine very old, thus W can reject the machine as it is not as per the description of the seller. A buyer has seen the goods but purchases as per the description provided by the seller. Example: the buyer has seen certain goods and purchased on the basis of description given by seller as dating from the 17th century, but found actually it is of 18th century. The buyer can reject the goods as they are not as per the description of the seller. 3. Where the method of packing has been described and is considered as a part of the description. L purchased 30 tins of Australian fruit from M and ordered the packing to be done in 30 tins in each case, but M supplied cases that could include only 24 tins. L can therefore reject the goods as they were not packed as per the described method of packing. The third implied condition, that is sale by sample, section 17. A contract of sale can be a sale either by sample expressed or implied, and the sale consists of the following 3 conditions. According to section 17.1, the goods should be as per the sample with respect to quality. The buyer has the right to compare the bulk goods with the sample which is being provided. The goods should be defect free. If the defects in the goods are not being identified after examining the sample, then it is called latent defect. The seller is not responsible for such defects in goods which is visible to the buyer and consumer. Example: P bought certain quantity of crystal coatings from Q which is similar to sample, but due to latent defect the cloth was not sufficient to make the coat. The buyer P can exercise right in rejecting the goods as the defect was not visible, and after uses the buyer came to know. The fourth implied condition as to quality or fitness, 16 subsection 1. Usually in the contract of sale there is no implied condition with respect to condition of the quality or fitness of the goods. The buyer should scrutinize the suitability of quality or fitness as per. This is called caveat emptor. Example: A purchased a hot water bottle from B, the chemist, and inquired about its stand for boiling water. B said that the bottle can be used hot water only. Accordingly, A fills water which results in burst of bottle and causes injury to his wife. It was held that the chemist is liable to refund and pay for damages as the purpose of buyer was not being fulfilled. Another last condition has to mercantile quality. According to section 16.2, goods should be have mercantile quality when the goods are being purchased through getting the description from the seller. The goods must be of the mercantile quality as per the description. It must also be defect free despite the fact that whether defects are hidden or next, implied warranties. The following are implied warranties. The implied warranty of freedom from encumbrances, section 14C. The warranty for freedom from encumbrances implies that the goods are free from any charge or right in the side of the third party. If any charge or encumbrances therefore interfere the buyer possession of the goods, then the buyer has to right to claim damages for the breach of warranty. Implied warranty has to harmful good. The goods sold by the seller are harmful in nature, then the buyer of such goods needs to be informed about it. If the seller conceals the harmful quality nature of goods and it suppose the buyer suffers in injury due to such a harmful quality, then the seller is held liable to bear the damages. Implied warranty has to quiet possession. Generally, in a contract of sale, there will be an implied warranty that the buyer has and usually enjoys quiet possession of goods on a condition that no contractor intention is present in the contract. In case of the buyer, it is restricted from the enjoying the quiet possession of goods due to seller defective title, then seller is held liable for such damages. The last one, implied warranty has to quality or fitness by uses of trade. 16.4. In a contract of sale, there would be an implied warranty with respect to quality or fitness for a specific purpose through use of trade. Thank you.